Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Zoya Splash collection for summer 2020. So there are 12 polishes here altogether. These will be available on May 15th, so I will link the Zoya website down below and I'll get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Jodi, and this is described as a pale ice cream pink cream. I don't know exactly what that means, but I don't hate it. So this one is pretty opaque on the first coat for being a light color. It is still a little bit streaky. I am using the Z-Wide brush, which is something that you can buy separately to add to the polishes. When Zoya sends me the polishes, they usually send me brushes. I do swap the brushes out because this is, in my opinion, a nicer brush than what comes in a Zoya bottle by default, but I don't necessarily advocate for spending the additional $2 a brush for a wide brush for your polishes. I mean, like, spend your money however you want. I'm not your mom. But if I was paying my own money for these polishes, even though I do like this brush better, I don't think I would spend an extra $2 a bottle to have a wide brush. So this one does start to build up nicely on that second coat, but I'm going to let it dry all the way before I call it. I think I'm going to end up needing a third. I did use 3 coats for my swatch photos. I can see a few streaks, but I think those are probably going to get more obvious after everything is dry. I'm doing the third coat here to cover up a few flaws that I have, and I did do a third coat in my photos, but it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be after it was fully dry. It definitely isn't a really obvious streakiness, but I do think I get a little bit better color out of that third coat. I don't know if I mentioned, but good formula on this one as well. I think I was going off about the brush and didn't mention that. So that is 3 coats of Jodi. So the next polish is called Fisher, and Zoya describes this as a sun-kissed sea foam with a stunning gold micro shimmer. So there's a lot of gold shimmer in this. It's definitely sheer on that first coat, fairly even though. Lots of gold shimmer. It's actually not looking as strong in the shimmer department on camera than it is in person. And good formula on this one. So this one does start to build up on that second coat. It is still a bit sheer. I actually had lower expectations for this polish initially. I love these shimmers in polishes, but I just feel like it's always kind of a sheer, streaky mess when you have a polish with this shimmer in it, so I'm pretty happy with this one. So this one does build up pretty well on that third coat. I feel like you do still have to be a little bit careful to make sure that you don't have any streaks. It definitely dries a bit more sheer than it is when it's wet. So that is 3 coats of Fisher. So the next polish is, I don't know if it's supposed to be an unusual spelling of Corrina or if it's supposed to be pronounced completely differently. I'm going to call it Corrina. And this is described as a naked blush with a kiss of gold sheen. So this one is pretty sheer on that first coat. Lots of gold shimmer, just like the last polish. And also pretty even, like the last polish as well. This one does start to build up a bit on that second coat, but the first coat did dry a little more sheer than it applied. So this one does cover completely for me in 3 coats. But I do think if you have a very white nail line, it might still show after the third coat. It really just depends on your application. And that probably goes for Fisher as well. I just didn't really think of it when I was swatching that one. My nails are pretty short right now. So that is 3 coats of Corrina. The next polish is called Emma, and this is described as a starfish coral cream with a touch of pink undertone. So this one is a little bit sheer on that first coat, not super surprising. There are a couple of streaks, but it seems like those, for the most part, level themselves out. Good formula on this one as well. Zoya had a period of time a couple of years ago where their cream polishes were all a bit thick, and they've definitely stepped away from that recently. Much better formulas on these now. So this one does start to build up on that second coat. It's still a little bit streaky. And since the first coat did dry darker and more sheer than it was when it was wet, I'm assuming I will need a third coat. I did do 3 coats for my photos. So this one was a little bit too sheer for me on the second coat. Did need a third. Hopefully you can see that the wet coat is much lighter than the dry coat, so this does dry a little bit darker. So that is 3 coats of Emma. So the next polish is called Harbor, and Zoya describes this as a tropical emerald sea green cream. So this one is a little bit streaky on the first coat. Not terrible though. Good formula on this one. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. Depending on your application, you might need 3. I can see where you could still have some streaks, I did have to redo my entire first coat because I caused an avalanche of stuff off my desk and then tried to catch it all with wet nails. And this does definitely dry a little bit darker than it applies. So that is 2 coats of Harbor. The next polish is called Kristie, and this is described as a deep magenta popsicle pink cream. So this one is super opaque on that first coat. It's not a one coater. You could definitely see my nail line through it, and it will probably have a few streaks once it's fully dry, but it's very saturated. I don't love wearing these like hot pinks and reds and stuff on my nails as much, but the formulas or the performance is always really good on them, which is a little sad to me. I tend to lean towards the colors that are lighter and never perform as well. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about any specific polishes in this collection. I'm just talking about like lighter pastel shades versus more saturated shades in general. This one actually didn't dry more sheer or streaky or anything than it was when it was wet. It did dry a little bit darker though. So it does cover completely in 2 coats and also dries shiny. So that is 2 coats of Kristie. The next polish is called Leilani, and Zoya describes this as a glistening pink grapefruit with gold micro shimmer. So this one is a bit sheer in the first coat, but has a ton of that shimmer in there. Also, can you see how weird my nail line is? I had a couple of really bad breaks in a row, and they just kept breaking shorter and shorter, and my actual like nail line, like where the free edge of my nails started getting pushed back. Good formula on this one. So this one does build up pretty nicely on that second coat. I can see just a little bit of nail line, and I think it's like just enough for me to want to do a third coat. But you might be able to get away with 2, just depending on your personal preference. So this one does cover completely in 3 coats. It was really close in 2. I was just feeling a little bit too picky. It does seem to dry a bit darker than it is when it's wet. And the shimmer in here is not glittery or textured at all. So that is 3 coats of Leilani. The next polish is called Greta, and this is described as a ripe tomato red cream. So this one is also super saturated on that first coat. I do have a little bit of nail line showing, so I'm going to do a second. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. And like I said when I did the pink cream, I wish that the colors that I liked performed as well as these kinds of colors that I don't necessarily like to wear. So that is 2 coats of Greta. So the next polish is what I believe is Celi, but I don't know if I should be following like Italian phonics rules like the internet is telling me, so I don't know, but that's what we're going to call it. This is described as a sweet cherry red with gold micro shimmer. So like the other polishes that had this gold shimmer in them, this is packed with gold shimmer. It is a little bit sheer on the first coat, but the base is a much darker color, so it's going to build up faster. And good formula on this one. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. You might need 3 depending on your application, but yeah, I'll just say it that way. You might need 3 depending on your application. I do feel like it's much more pink fully dry and kind of orange when it's wet. I don't know if that has to do with like the shimmer settling somehow. But just like the other polishes in this collection with this shimmer, it's not gritty at all. So that is 2 coats of Celi. The next polish is called Jessica, and this is described as an African violet cream. This one is a little bit sheer on that first coat, but it's a darker color, so it will build up fine. I am wiping a lot of polish off of the brush back into the bottle. I do want to try to do thinner coats here because I really don't want to flood my nails with such a dark color. And good formula. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats and does dry pretty shiny as well. So that is 2 coats of Jessica. The next polish is called Maren, and Zoya describes this as a vibrant nautical blue cream. So this one is super opaque on that first coat. It's not quite a 1 coater, only because I'm going to try to thin this coat out a bit. A lot of polish went on that nail, but it is very close to being a 1 coater. And good formula on this one. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. It was really close in 1. This is one of those polishes that I think after you've used it a couple of times and it thickens up a little bit just from use, you can probably start getting 1 coat out of it. And this does have that funky, skunky, slightly dank kind of smell that a lot of blue polishes can get. It's just the pigment smells weird. So that is 2 coats of Maren. And the last polish is called Eclipse, and this is described as a glistening silver with holographic rainbow sparkles. And I'm layering this over Maren because it's still on my nails. So I don't see any actual holographic in here, how like we nail polish people would normally describe holographic. I could be missing it because the glitter is so small, but it does seem like it's some really, really fine silver shimmer and then larger iridescent glitters. And it covers really evenly, good formula. You probably won't have any texture. The larger glitters are pretty sparse, but wear top coat anyway. So that is one coat of Eclipse. So no real surprises here. My two favorites are going to be Jodi and Harbor. I like these shades. These two shimmery gold shades here, Corrina and Fisher. I really wanted to like these ones, but this finish, I always feel like I want to like it more than I end up actually liking it on my nails. As much as I love shimmers and even holographics and other things like that, I just can't help but gravitate towards the creams. So these two are my favorites. So that is the Zoya Splash collection for summer 2020. Again, those are releasing on May 15th, so I will link the Zoya website down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later.